Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
In J. Allen Hynek's 1972 book, The UFO Experience: A Scientific Inquiry, UFO and extraterrestrial encounters were classified into three distinct categories. Beyond this original classification by the head of the Air Force's Project Blue Book, other scientists following in Hynek's footsteps would later add an additional 4 categories. Within these additional classifications, you have what are deemed close encounters of the fourth kind. These experiences are characterized by humans being physically abducted by extraterrestrials. Some scientists argue this category should also include experiences where the witness has their reality transformed. Perhaps a near-perfect example of this type of encounter would be the events that took place in 1967 in the town of South Ashburnham, Massachusetts. A case that was marked with such high strangeness that J. Allen Hynek had declined to interview the witness. Only 10 years later would notable UFO investigator Raymond Fowler document the incredible experience as details were obtained from numerous sessions of regression hypnotherapy. This case file joined the theorists as they go gaga for Quasga in the Andreasson abduction case.
I'm back. Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing 147, the Andreasson Affair. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
Well, back by popular demand.
Why did
after
you do
my
that?
hiatus?
As soon as they heard your voice screaming, I'm back, everybody's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, we lost
Skip it.
We lost about 100 listeners right there.
Yeah, right.
Thought
we
he was
just
gone.
Doubled. Number one's back,
They're like,
baby.
man, this podcast was just getting good.
Yeah.
Just starting to
You
step
know what?
up.
You're Dan. From what I hear, you were right. One is close to zero because when one's gone, the rest of y'all are zeros.
Well, you've been saving that, eh?
Boom.
He's
Been
been
working
working
on my desk for a week.
Working on that.
Better yet, the guy got so upset with the brand new Randomatron option, the Beak Braden option, he broke it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even fucking work anymore.
Smashed it.
Wait, you guys did a beak Braden option? I didn't
Yeah.
get told that.
And you pouted and you broke it.
Yeah. It was a good one. It was one of the best segments we've ever
You guys
done.
are gonna make me. You guys are gonna make me listen to a whole episode where I don't get to listen to my own voice. Are you kidding me? I can't sit through that.
It's one more than I've listened to, so that's good.
Andreasson Affair. This one's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I love this.
cool
UFO
abduction case.
Why don't we get right into it?
Straight into him.
Straight into it. The Andreasson abduction case comes from us. The event in question that we're going to talk about took place on what was January 25th, 1967 in the small town of South Ashburnham, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
I looked up two things about this because it said that this happened at 6:30 p.m. The night of the abduction. And I was like, 6:30 p.m. January, like, in Massachusetts. I had to look up, and that is 6:36, January 25th, 1967, was actually the astronomical twilight, which is the darkest part of the night. So it was dark because I was like,
There you
maybe
go.
it was how dark was
Darkness.
it? Darkness.
Right. And according to weather reports, it was also that place is well known
Must be
for
cold
fog.
as fuck.
For fog.
Right?
Cold, I'd
fog was
imagine.
also a common occurrence in this area, so that'll play a part later. So the report of the abduction comes from Betty Andreasson. Betty Andreasson was a mother of 7 children at the time. Her husband, the month before this, had a pretty bad car accident. He was actually in the hospital at the time. So her 2 parents, her mother and father, were also in the house, helping with the family and the housework and things like in order to kind of take some of the burden off of just Betty. So what seemed to happen, what kind of kicked off the whole thing, is that at this time you had the lights, around sometimes 6:30 around in the evening started to blink. You had this
And
red
flicker.
Yeah, you had this red light that beamed into the house. So through the kitchen window, I'm assuming it's something similar. If you've ever seen Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, this is what you get during the kind of like when the aliens come to the house.
So we had like an electrical interference, like all the lights in the house, like all the.
Yep,
Yeah,
lights, TV,
From all
everything.
accounts, everything was just flickering and kind of going a little. It didn't really say like it wasn't like violently or anything, but it made it sound. It painted the picture in my head from everything I read that everything was just doing that flickering enough that you would do the little maybe the side eye and everything, be like, what the hell's going on? And all of a sudden would be very startled by a giant bright red light coming from your kitchen window.
What year was this? Sorry, again. What was the year?
City 7.
1967.
Oh, so before the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, that's
there
fair.
you go.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
So, according to the story, Betty's father ran to go look outside of the kitchen window from where the light had been seen coming. So he is reported to have seen what seemed to be 5 strange-looking creatures walking towards the house, but not so much walking as they
Hopping.
described some sort of hopping motion. And from what we can gather from the father, because there's kind of conflicting reports of whether the father really wanted to talk about this thing. He was very hesitant to come forward at first. Betty remarked that when she tried to talk with him about it after the fact, a few, at least like a year, I think, after the event had happened, and she kind of started remembering things, he didn't want to talk about it.
Well,
but eventually
she said like there were some lame excuses. She said that he was worried about, potentially losing his income checks, you know what I mean? Because I guess he was.
Oh, because they thought he would have been crazy. Or
They
something?
thought he was crazy, and they, you know what I mean. They're like, well, and you know what I mean. Like, I'm a man, so obviously they're gonna make me the center of attention and go after me and make this all about me.
He was like
so.
a stereotypical old guy in 1967. Like survived the Great Depression.
Hardened man.
I mean, he was an immigrant.
Hardened.
Like, he had immigrated at a young age from, I think it was Finland. Him and his family.
Finland? Oh yeah, and everyone knows Finnish. Those are hard. Hard
Yeah,
men.
they bath in ice water.
Hard men, eh,
Yeah.
Braden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard men.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah.
What were you doing on your vacation again? What was
Is it
happening?
hot
Why were you
in
out
here?
here? What were you up to?
Huh?
I don't know.
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed. Cannot tell us.
So,
Learning the art of the Finnish massage.
so another surprising things happen is that when these creatures reach the back door, what they appear to do is they didn't open it so much as they simply seem to walk through it, just phase through the wooden door right into the house.
Vision style.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
And it's at this point that the entire family is put into what can be described as either a trance or some type of suspended animation is what
Can we-
is kind of be
can we-
described.
Can we also let's talk about their appearance for a second? Because goddamn were they looking flies.
Well, the biggest thing that jumped out to me when she was describing, like I was listening to an interview and she was describing them, and I heard like it was enough for me to be like, this is it. I love it. First thing she described was them wearing silver suits, and I just heard Herbie Hancock. Boom, 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 boom.
There's varying reports because I saw the silver suits, but the one that I loved was blue overalls with a nice white belt and a white sash going over it with their little bird crest on either side as they hi-hoed into the living room.
Like a sash, like we're talking like fucking...
A pageant sash?
Yeah, like what do we
Yeah.
mean
Like
sash?
well, I'm guessing it like went from the white belt over a shoulder and then back down the other. But goddamn, I need to get my hands on one of these suits because all the artist rendition, I'm assuming that when the artist is drawing the UFO, they're showing Betty and be like, is this what they look like? And what do I need to change? And Betty must have been like, can you give them some badonkadonks? I want little alien booties. Like they were tight. Those things were tight. I could see them all. They were thick boys, little thick boys. Because every single one of those artist rendition is just such a prominent little alien butt. I was like, man, goddamn, those pants are really working for those little.
You're very
tight peach.
You're very fucking sexually charged tonight.
Yeah,
Brandon.
you are.
Hard men and
Hard men.
thick, tight booties and shit. Like, what's going on with you, man?
Alien booty.
You went to one of those islands, didn't you? You went to one of those hedonism islands or whatever. Sandals. The adult
You would
side
have
of
a
sandals.
problem with this, wouldn't you?
So Braden just got back from Fire Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hedonism too.
Misplaced his keys, if you know what I mean.
So these creatures were like, what were they? About 4 feet tall, most of them. And then they thought one might have been the leader because it stood a foot taller.
Right, he was the
Whoa,
tallest.
whoa, whoa,
So
why?
therefore,
What is- no.
They tall
must
it.
be the leader.
His words,
Shit.
not ours. No one jump on all over us. This is their words.
Whose words? Betty's?
Father, I think.
Oh, the father. Fuck him. He's wrong. Get rid of him.
Cancel him.
Yeah, he's done.
Well, Andrew, how you could by that leadership structure, you could lead this pack.
But I'd be dunking on those guys at 4 feet. Oh, man.
You'd be like the Monstars.
Yeah, fuck
compared to
yeah.
them.
I want it. That's the plan I want to
Yeah, right. These aliens are probably like Muggsy Bogues. They'd be jumping over your head.
So the other thing that the aliens, the first thing that I noticed in this story is that they've been described as the father said they were hopping. They seem to be hopping.
Yeah.
And then when they come through the door, they don't even walk. They just glide through the air, baby. Just smooth as silk. Just float around. I just imagine they just throw their arms back and they just throw their head and they just shoot chest forward, sliding everywhere. That's what I pictured in my head. But I thought that was interesting because it was such a unique way for the dad to describe them coming in. Like they were hopping or something, walking. And then when they come through the door, they floated. They didn't walk. They floated. Nimbly bimbly.
Right. So we get the description from both Betty and her father of these creatures, which, like Zell said before, you had about 4, which seemed to be about 4 feet in height. And you had a 5th that seemed to be about a foot taller. So about standing at about 5 feet tall. Their descriptions are, they had the very wide eyes, small ears and noses, set in these kind of giant pear-shaped heads. And they didn't have so much mouths as there was just like tiny slits. So no lips, no nothing like that. And it seemed to be that they communicated with their minds. Telepathy plays a big part in this entire,
it's the Greys.
event.
Mental telepathy.
It's the short Greys. Pretty much.
Right. So it's very it's very typical of your Greys, except, they're wearing clothes. So
yeah, clothes. They had little
Fly as
little
fuck
cute
clothes.
cute little moon boots. on.
Sashes, apparently.
Sashes. They did have the pear-shaped head, the big black eyes, but just little slits for mouth that she described as looking like scars.
Right.
yeah. So they also, their hands, she noted that they also had only like 3 fingered hands. So it's like 2, just basically like a thumb and then 2 other, appendages.
So one of those
on the
little
end of each
fucking,
hand.
this is my strong arm. My strong arm.
Yeah.
Let me stir it for you.
So this, after this, after the description of the aliens and the family is put into this kind of suspended animation state, you kind of lose most of the father's recollection of what happens. He kind of, either they pause, they put everybody on pause except Betty. Now, the rest of the information that we get is from hypnotic regression sessions with Betty, that occurred in 1977. So 10 years after the fact, she met with an investigator, Jules Vaillancourt from MUFON, who also put her in contact with hypnotist Harold Edelstein of the New England Institute of Hypnosis. And so together they brought her, it's something like a 2-hour drive from where she was living, but she was happy to do it at the time. And so the rest of the information we get is from them, putting her into these regressive hypnotic states and then having her relive these events.
And this isn't just like, oh, hey, come sit in this chair for an hour. We're going to do this. They investigated her and her claims for 12 months. This is one of the most investigated cases ever reported in the annals of hypnotherapy.
In the annals?
What?
In the annals of hypnotherapy. Am I saying that wrong?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a better word for it.
The annals
I'm sure it's
of
annals,
hypnotherapy.
but you might have something else on the mind. So
Annals?
Yeah.
Annals?
Yes,
Oh, 2 N's? Annals. Yeah.
Annals.
Yeah.
Oh,
Annals, sure.
Jesus.
that's embarrassing.
Okay, wait. So the aliens come in, they freeze the whole family in suspended animation, except for Betty. But that's the last thing she remembers from that night. The rest comes from later on.
Right. So, but also they froze Betty, but there's also a report from, they had Becky, the oldest daughter, who was, I think, 11 at the time. She also contributed some to the narrative. Like, she remembered some of these things. Like, she definitely remembered parts and pieces of it.
From what I heard from Betty in the interview was she was really concerned for her family. And they're like, listen, you're okay. Everybody's safe. Watch. And they got Becky to stand up to show her that, you know what I mean? Like she was still okay.
They took her out of the trance.
And then sat her down. And then obviously later we're going to learn about something that they were giving. And Becky plays a role in that too.
So to show them that they didn't mean harm, they hey, your kids are going to be fine. Watch this.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Look this. And then put her back to sleep.
Which is weird to me though. So is the reason why nobody got frozen until they visioned through the fucking door? And the only reason the dad knows what's up is because he was with Betty and saw it happen? Is that why none of the other family?
They couldn't really see the door from where they were sitting. I think most of the kids were in the TV room or out, they weren't in the kitchen because they came through the back of the house, the back door that led out to the backyard into the kitchen. And you couldn't see from inside the TV room or wherever most of the kids were. That door. So once the beings entered the house, I believe that's when everybody was put into suspended animation.
So kids were watching the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
All right, and then the parents, okay, I get you.
Okay, so she gets this hypnosis, regression hypnosis, and what does she find out?
So the beings, again, like we said, they seem to communicate with her through telepathy. Their mouths didn't move. It was more that she got a kind of, they communicated so much in both, I guess, in an empathic kind of way. They could convey feelings, but they could also convey specific ideas.
ESPN.
They would ask her for questions.
Basic ESPN.
Yes, essentially. So what they asked her for something to eat is the next thing.
The aliens asked her for something. Wait, are we getting some saltless pancakes here? Is that what's about to happen? We got silver suits, barbecue. Okay, so does she feed them?
So she does prepare some food for them. I believe she prepared some food for them, and then when she placed the food in front of them, they said, "No, not this food. It has to be burnt." Was what she got.
Oh, this is awesome.
I thought from what when I heard the interview, she said she misunderstood them when they asked for food. She thought they meant food, but they actually meant knowledge.
Yeah, and I was getting to that. So
so I'm like.
She's cooking and gives it, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
What if, you know what the better story would be? It was just these fucking aliens chose this planet to come, and they're like, "We're gonna pick a fucking random house, and this is the alien fucking Gordon Ramsay." And he's like, "Listen, you fucking on the clock, make me something tasty." And he just gives her some fucking tastes it, and he's like, "Literally rubbish, rubbish." Just screaming at her.
Top chef.
Yeah, show us what you got.
I like that too because
Disqualified. There's one
Is
every
this-
season.
is this pre or post Italian pancakes? I don't remember what year that happened, but here now quick little side theory. If this is pre-Italian pancakes, these guys come down, she cooks them food in her like half trance nervousness, burns the shit out of these pancakes, but they love it. They've never had. They're like, we've never had anything like this.
Oh, this is very
It's so good. So then later, when we're seeing the barbecue, that's them. They've taken the recipe from Betty.
just burning it.
Listening to Herbie Hancock in their.
So, so like Andrew said, it may have been some sort of actual miscommunication. And at this point, this was the first thing that these aliens were communicating to her. Perhaps like their whatever wavelength they were on wasn't exactly syncing up. So maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe they needed a little bit more time to kind of adjust their, telepathy, mind waves. I don't know, something like that. But she said that they had to clarify that they meant, like Andrew said, knowledge. Like they wanted something that had been tested in the fire of knowledge or something to that effect. And so Betty was a very devout, and she was a very pretty staunch Christian. Very not Bible thumper, but she's definitely go to church and had faith in the Christian beliefs and all those things. So she interpreted this to mean the Bible. That is what she kind of.
So hold on, what you're telling me here is that this is intergalactic Jehovah's Witness. Is what you're saying.
I mean, but like
Instead of knocking,
the
they just
opposite.
phase through their door.
And they
Well, you
they
can't- you have to
finally
let 'em in.
They finally
It's genius.
Yeah,
You can't keep them
they
outside.
finally figured out how to give the good news.
Excuse me,
They're like, we
ma'am.
freeze you.
Have you heard the good news?
well, she gives them the Bible. So she gives them the Bible.
light?
The bright shining light.
Where can we find the answers to life's greatest questions? Why do we suffer?
We will tell you the way.
We believe the good light is for all beings.
That's
The
it.
one tells us to rub the light all over. Ooh wee.
We believe the
All the good
good
old-
light is for all beings.
That's
So
so
they
funny.
go ahead and she gives them the Bible, and in return they gave her something else. The blue book. It's either I think they actually turned the Bible into something else, where they kind of touched it, and then the Bible turned into another book.
Well,
Or what
she said
appeared
they
to be a book.
multiplied it. They like from where they touched it, and then it just like a bunch of different duplicates of it appeared.
Right. And she did remark later that she's like, she doesn't know whose Bible it was. I guess every kid in the family had a Bible, or close to every kid had a Bible. And she said that one of them was missing after the fact. So they used that either they used that Bible in some sort of like matter transfer, multiplication, whatever. But she received this blue book.
Think about how much
from
fucking
them.
cooler it would have been if they're like, knowledge, you want fucking knowledge? Like, can I give you this book of made up stories, or can I give you a fucking comic of Spider-Man? That shit is going to blow your fucking mind.
Gives my first edition Spider-Man.
Right? That would be way cooler. It would have been like, this is fucking wicked. This is awesome.
This
Who
is a
needs
lot
Jesus
more
when you have
valuable.
Peter Parker?
This is a lot more valuable.
One guy walks
Take
on
this.
water, the other guy fucking swings through buildings and beats bad guys up.
Shoots webs out of his hand and
That's badass.
super
It-
badass.
I would
I mean,
say that
Jesus beats bad
maybe
guys up too.
maybe if
Does he? Who does he beat up?
Yeah, Jesus in the
fights
temple when he
people?
kicked out all the gamblers.
What
I mean,
comics
come on.
do
Well,
you
listen,
read?
guys.
I don't know.
What comics do you
I
read?
mean,
Calablamo.
one of them lost. One of them didn't.
That's funny.
I guess they've both been resurrected. That's fair.
That's
Yeah, Peter died at one point,
Yeah, a couple
Um,
points.
spoilers.
or more than one. More than one time. He died a whole bunch of times. So.
Yeah, but he keeps coming back.
He's better than Jesus.
I
Multiple
in fact,
resurrections.
more than once.
It would kind of make sense to me though, like she gives them the Bible, and like say if they're at a level where they're traveling through space, they've got mental telepathy. Maybe when she hands them the Bible, they turn it, like just by them touching it, they're like, we know everything in it. So using those references that she's now given them, because we know that like the conversation wasn't really lining up earlier when she was making burnt food for them. Maybe they use images from the Bible to like convey a message to her.
Maybe
later on, because what she says later kind of is like, she says it was like a religious experience, but I wonder, never thought this before, but now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking that like she handed them this book before she has like this next experience. So maybe that's what they conveyed. It's kind of like how in Contact, when Jodie Foster goes, they convey it like as her. They're like, "Is this real?" Like, no, we just thought this is the easiest way to like show you.
All I know,
dead father.
All I know is they probably haven't been back since she probably chose the wrong book. They probably made it through like 5 pages of the only begotten son of this person and that person and this person. They're like, this is terrible. I can't read this.
Turned around.
Never
If they only read numbers, I mean, like some of the Bible's pretty rad. I'll tell you that. Like, some of it's pretty crazy.
Not the first little bit. Genesis.
All right. So this is all happening still in the house. Well, everyone's frozen. The book
They're still in the
exchange and
house
stuff.
at this point. So after they give her the blue book, they pretty much invite her back to the ship, and they say, "Leave the blue book here for now. We're going to take you. You've been chosen in so much."
And she went willingly, right? Because apparently she felt this like peace. You know what I mean? They had this very like peaceful vibe about them.
Right. A type of peace. And there's also kind of like this kind of compulsion I think she felt in order to go with them. It wasn't so much, it wasn't a command. They didn't say like, go with us, like they're like, please come with us.
Yeah, they didn't have to because
felt,
they have fucking mind control techniques.
No, it doesn't matter. They could have mind control. They could have $1 million. They could have a fucking spaceship full of Spider-Man comics, mongooses, puppet dogs, all the cool shit. I'm not going in there.
I would not want to be in a spaceship full of mongooses.
I would. They know me. They trust me.
Yeah, but how cute were those outfits?
Yeah, well, they did have sashes. They did kind of look like Fred from Scooby-Doo. Or no, those are ascots.
Those are ascots.
Yeah, ascots.
What is a sash? Zell, can you pull up a picture of a sash? Why am
sash?
I?
It's like a Miss Universe. Think of like a beauty pageant.
Okay, look at this.
It's like what Worf wears.
This is
like
them.
what Worf wears.
This is
Star
the
Trek.
aliens.
Like, come on.
Oh yeah.
That's the aliens coming through.
Yeah, so they look like fucking SS members. I wouldn't be going in there with them. That's terrifying.
Yeah, pull up that picture with them in the where
Show
they
me
got
some
all the little
papers.
cute little butts.
No, Braden, enough. Go have a cold fucking shower. Enough of the butts and the anals and everything. Jesus. You didn't get it out of your
It's
system?
pronounced the nulls.
You didn't get it out of your system at fucking Sandals Resort Adult Edition?
Hedonism too.
Yeah.
You never listen to me.
Oh, I tone it out for a reason. Scary.
Okay, so now they get on board the ship. Let's get there. Let's get onto the ship.
So their means of conveyance mostly is for them to float. They don't walk anywhere, seems like. So I don't even know why they have legs, but they float everywhere. It's not, she described a motion like they kind of would just get in a kind of follow the leader type of, one by one line, and then just off they would go. Just zoom. All right. So they floated her out the back door, same way as they came in. They kind of phased through her with her as well. So they didn't open it for her. So it must be some sort of technology that you can either project or whatever onto anybody. And they just went through the door. They entered into the ship, which had been parked in her backyard. This was in the middle of a town. So she had neighbors and things like this. So during the hypnotic regression, they asked her, what about your neighbors? What the fuck were they doing? Like, you got this light up disco ball spaceship coming down into your things. Like, what happened in there? And she described it that there was very kind of like a heavy fog, which is, when they checked the weather for that time, they said, okay, yeah, there is, that place is known for quite a lot of fog.
Maybe they froze everyone in the neighborhood.
Maybe. Also, she didn't go into their houses. She couldn't possibly see them. So perhaps they, it was a whole neighborhood-wide freeze. Who knows?
Just the whole block. They just snapped their fingers and they all sat there at the table like half eating while it's all happening.
Like click.
Exactly.
Maybe that's what they got. Maybe they got the remote.
Oh, shit. Cracked it.
Done. Figured it out. Bunch of alien race of Adam Sandlers.
So she floats into the ship through what looks to be some sort of doorway with stairs. I don't think at this point the tallest alien had introduced itself. I think she had asked before, like, what is your name? What do I call you? And he introduced himself as Quazga.
Oh, that's
Quazga?
Quazga. So Quazgaa is what his name was.
Quazga.
So she said when they
really
entered
wish
into the ship,
You
like
would've
he
let
was able
Salary-
to, with a motion of his hand to turn the bottom of the ship transparent.
Yeah.
And she saw some stuff like inside the ship. I think she described seeing some what seemed to be
Wait.
like some mechanisms and things like that.
He waved his hand.
He's like, impressed? This isn't even the beginning.
he waved his
Check this
hand,
shit
and
out.
and the ship went transparent, and then
the
like
bottom
what?
of the ship. That's what
And
she
then-
described. And then he
There we go.
yeah, and then he waved his hand again, and then it turned back into a type of like a silvery gold color.
Meanwhile, one of those little guys is behind flipping the light switch.
And now,
He does
And
this
now.
every time.
Oh, the monkeys get a kick out of this one. When they moved inside of the ship, it seemed to be some sort of waiting area is what she described, and it's shaped like a kind of half bubble. She didn't see really any openings or anything like this, and so the beings all she's kind of like, you can imagine she's standing in the doorway. They've shut the door, and then all the beings seem to be conversing at this point. They were all talking together, or putting their heads together, and discussing something. And Betty remembers at this point, she said she was kind of getting, vexed at this. Like, why are they keeping me waiting? And she would she described like crossing her arms.
she's getting impatient with the alien.
Yeah, like
Ballsy,
what the fuck,
Betty.
guys?
on.
That's
Like,
fucking
come on.
ballsy.
Where's the probe?
So quickly unimpressed. So just doing magic.
So the most of the beings left except for Chu and Quazga. So Quazga made some remark about him having to go and prepare himself, and so for something, he didn't really elaborate on what. And he
Dan, right there, before you get into what he was preparing himself for, let's take a quick beer break, because I think we all need a top up.
Braden's gonna have a
Yeah,
cold
let's do that.
shower.
All right, we'll be right back. Everybody.
Quick rinse.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
All right, we're back. Smooth.
So fucking Case Swibbles was just getting ready for her. That's what he said, right? What's his name again?
Quazga was
Quesadilla.
Wise guy.
Quesadilla.
That's scary though. Some guys he's like, listen, I gotta go get ready. Like, you just stay here. That's terrifying.
And he's already in a flowing white robe.
with
and
a
he's
sash.
like, let me go get into something
That's
a little more
scary to me. That feels
comfortable.
like he's gonna come out with like wild horses playing. Wild
Yeah.
horses. Like, that's scary. Fucking-
So before all that happens, he sends her off with two beings to escort her up a set of stairs, which open up into another doorway. And she remarked at this, like, these. It's weird how she describes the ship, because this ship must be some kind of TARDIS bullshit, because it's like bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Dude,
I think she described the ship being maybe 20 feet, which is actually pretty big. That's like, what, 2-story house?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
if
it's
it's 20
powered by
feet high,
two
yeah.
twin Peloton bikes at the bottom.
Yeah, I was looking at when I read it, it said 20 foot, like 20 feet, and then Dan sent me a picture of the ship, and I was like, "How does this all fit in here?" So if you're watching the live stream, let's go through it. So as you walk into the ship, there's an entry hall, a staircase, a walkway to a control room, a cleansing area, an elevator, and a hatch.
Okay, listen.
An elevator?
There's an upper deck, more stairs.
How long was this chick in the spaceship for?
Well, I think she describes all of the events that happened to her because, as we talk more, but everything happened over the course of she said felt like 4 hours, I think is what she said.
In 4 hours, she knows this, buddy, she knows this fucking spaceship inside and out like that.
It's only
fucking ridiculous.
It's only 20 feet. So
yeah, but look how fucking detailed that little drawing was. Like, that's
but think about if these guys are.
Yeah, but that's from her memory. That's from she's just trying to put it in there. I would assume.
Oh, man.
So there's actually 3 floors. There's the main deck, the bottom deck with the Peloton bikes, and the top floor has a hallway.
Tell me those aren't bikes.
Listen,
those are fucking bikes. They're powering the spaceship.
So what? Like took her on a grand fucking tour. It looks like they put on an episode of fucking Cribs for her. She saw the entire fucking
no
thing.
wonder they want to float everywhere if they're on Peloton bikes, shoot through the universe.
Put that picture back up, Zell.
I wouldn't walk either.
No wonder why they got those cute little buns and those little suits.
Buddy,
rocking those Peloton bikes.
You can see on that picture that Zell's gonna put up right there. There's a big screen TV with Scarface on it. This is an episode of fucking Alien Cribs. I've seen it.
Where do you see the TV?
It's up there, right there.
Hey, what are the odds we can sell
Right
this show to Peloton?
This episode sponsored by.
I'd love one of those bikes. That'd be awesome.
The power of a spaceship.
She definitely described moving about through the ship, and the doors and the entryways that she described was like you couldn't see them. Like the walls were completely white, and these openings would just kind of appear. Like either the door would open up vertically, and it would just be there. It wasn't like you saw like the outline of these doors, or these entryways, or anything. So it was just kind of like you walk up the stairs, and then there it is. You're where you're going to be. So the 2 beings that are escorting Betty took her to a circular room. And within this circular room, she described it as like a dome shape. So like a completely white dome, luminescent, because she couldn't figure out when she recalled this under hypnotic regression, they asked her, where were the lights? What's the light source? Like, you're telling us it's bright. So, where's the light coming from? And she was just kind of, it's coming from everywhere. It's the whole
ship's illuminated.
The whole inside is luminescent.
Yeah.
So they took her into this dome-shaped room, and they kind of said, wait here. In so many words.
We'll
They're
be
like,
right
wait
with
here.
you.
Yeah, we'll be right with you.
You're up next.
The
Here's some old
Quazga
magazines.
will be
Here's
right
some
in.
old People magazines. Just sit here and hang out for a bit.
It's funny. It's Reader's Digest in Canada. We don't do the People. It's
fucking like a 12-year-old National Geographic magazine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So within this, she at this point she is visibly during hypnotic regression they described her as kind of getting anxiety because she's like, why are they having me wait here?
I
Why are you
wonder
leaving
why.
me by myself in
Wow.
this weird ship? I don't know what is going on. Why would you just leave me by myself? These
You
are the
didn't get
weirdest
anxious
kind of
when
people.
random motherfuckers just floated through your door.
Yeah,
That
floated
wasn't
through your door
concerning at all.
and
That's not
literally abducted you.
Yeah, that's still
No
okay.
big
Cool.
deal.
Yeah,
But they're nice because they unpaused your daughter for a second. Like,
Yeah.
we're fine. Everything's fine here. Nothing to worry about.
Be chill, Betty.
cool.
So kind of
Being a real Karen right now.
in order to kind of allay her anxiety and to get her through this experience and reliving this experience, they kind of asked her, calm down, take a look around, describe what you're seeing to us. And she described seeing things like what she described as some sort of like leaf motif, like on the ceilings and on the walls. She described seeing things that looked like, I guess she described them like shields of some sort. I didn't really say what kind of shield, whether they're circular or the kind of wedge shaped shields that you see. She said she could see on some of the walls there were what looked to be like raised buttons, and then on another wall there seemed to be some sort of like rolled up scrolls or something.
Scrolls.
What kind of waiting room is this? Isn't there supposed to be like a fish tank and like those posters of like the cats hanging from something like have hope, teamwork? You know what I mean?
Determination.
Yeah. Or that lighthouse with the water fucking, you know?
Yeah. They had her in this kind of, they had her in the trance, and they kind of had her body paralyzed so much. So it's not like she could move.
They
just kind of like stuck her there and just like, okay, wait here. They didn't even let her sit down or anything.
So that's why she's anxious. She's fucking paralyzed. Were they upset with her for being anxious? I don't understand. They're like,
Stop crossing your arms.
Yeah, like, why are you upset? You're paralyzed. Like, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
and you got friggin' Quagmire in his white robe telling her she's gonna
getting
go
ready.
get more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
Giggity.
Throwing his sash on.
Oh, man.
So after a certain amount of time, these same two beings returned, and they asked Betty to follow them to the center of the room, where in the center of the room, after they all three of them gathered there, it seemed to lower in, like it lowered downwards. So this elevator or something like took them down, and they asked her to exit through another opening and stand under what they described to her as, she's like, I don't want to get out here. And they're like, no, you have to stand in this thing. It's a type of cleansing device.
Oh, Jesus.
Right.
Sterilizing ray.
Buddy, they're going to give her a fucking prison shower to get ready for fucking Quasar. This is not good.
Yeah.
This is going
This is all shaping
fast.
up poorly for her.
Yeah.
She described it as some sort of like type of platform with a type of some sort of light coming down. When she stepped into it, it enveloped her, and what she felt like was solid white light, like she couldn't see anything beyond the edges of this device or whatever. And after she stepped out, they took her to another room, and they said, enter into this room and change into this garment.
Fuck, man. This is there. It's like it enters the light or it gets the hose again.
Yeah.
This is not good, man. I'm telling you, Wild Horse is going to be playing. He's coming out with his fucking whatever he's got between his legs tucked. It's not good.
So the garment that she described that they had prepared for her was this type of, I don't even really, it's like say it's a garment. It was kind of like it's like it had a silver clasp in the front, like where the neck was.
It sounds like some type of like
was.
Princess Leia
It's a
type
blouse.
of sex blouse.
Right.
Sexy
And it
blouse.
was like she's described as having slits down the sides and down the back, and the front is just kind of open. They didn't give her any kind of like undergarment or anything. It was just kind of open.
Oh, sorry, Betty.
Oh, Betty. Feel for you, girl. That's
Front, it says front mostly open.
what I want to like. Was Betty like kind of like, oh no, or was she like, we're on a ship, it's all good?
No,
She's paralyzed.
Oh, so she couldn't even cover up.
Her modesty, was still there intact. So she was definitely, she said, I didn't like it. So, I tried to cover myself as much as possible with the garment that they gave me, but, I put it on.
Yeah, who we dealing with here? Bill Cosby?
Good one.
So after she changed into this garment that they provided for her, they led her into another room that was a complete dome, and again, this one is all illuminated from all sides, and
Lots of leather and chains everywhere.
so Quazga enters into the room. Wild Horses is playing.
No.
Yeah.
This is where it would start playing too, because it's about to get weird.
Would you flog me? I'd flog me.
Would you probe me? I'd probe me real hard.
Wild Horses was not playing, but Quazga is now entered in with a new
He's changed too.
swanky suit. Silver suit, not the blue ones that they were wearing before. He's got this
Let me
shiny
guess.
silver suit
The
on.
front's open.
What do you think?
Completely covering, and I imagined it as being one of those, the silver heat suits or the sauna suits.
Oh yeah.
Imagine that heat shock treatments, heat shock proteins.
Right.
Heat shot protein, yeah, big time. Yeah. Elk meat.
Does this alien do jujitsu?
Does he bow hunt?
They might. I don't know. They're getting ready to.
Oh, you got to prepare for the pig babies.
So within this room, Betty described also there being a type of flat rectangular platform in the middle. So you can kind of guess what's going on. They placed Betty on this. She doesn't remember how exactly. She just remembers kind of just being placed on this block in the middle of this room. So it's
I think
essentially an
that's how Roofies
examination
works.
room.
Yeah, you can't move. You don't remember. You got roofied.
Space roofies.
Either they roofied her, or what she reported is the way that they kind of took away her anxiety or some type of anesthesia or whatever. It was what they would just touch her head, and then her fears and anxiety would kind of just go away.
That was a little bit of acid on the fingertip, on the temple, absorbed through the skin with the sweat. Everything will be okay. And that's why everything's illuminating.
That's terrifying, man.
Saying.
I don't understand.
So she definitely would need a bunch of it, because the next thing they do is they pull what seemed to pull out from out of the air, not out of the air, but like above her, were these long,
huge needles.
What do you mean, like
wires.
pull it from behind her ear? Like, ooh,
Not
hey,
behind her ear. No, I'm saying like from the ceiling, like they drop down from the ceiling.
Yeah, come down.
Wait, hey Betty, what do you got over there behind your ear? Fucking needle.
What's this? Needle!
Ooh, I bet you impressed now, eh?
They insert these. They have two of them, and they inserted into her left nostril.
Gave her the old COVID test.
Oh, Jesus.
Right?
So bad.
That goes
so
up in
bad.
there.
So bad.
And the other one was inserted into her navel,
Like right through the belly button.
right through the belly button.
This is not like, this is like a
Ooh.
terrible magic trick.
Yes.
But
not
first
fun.
it was the behind the ear, and now it's like cutting her in half, poking shit in her. It's not
So,
good. The final countdown.
She
playing.
remembers or recalls Quasga remarking that they were, she's like, why are you doing this to me? What is going on, in her head? And they can kind of, if they're communicating telepathically, they can kind of sense what's going on. And through her mind, Quasga responded to her questions, being that they were measuring her for light, is what he said. It didn't really. She's like, what is that? I don't know. And he's just like, we're just measuring you for light. It's in there. Like, we're just measuring.
Didn't they think it was
for
like something to do with she thought it may have been something to do with like creation or something?
Right. They seem to have either mentioned something, in their telepathic conversations, or she picked up on something about them searching for something to do with creation, or her missing something to do with creation. Now,
I remember her being like, she was talking in an interview, being very upset because at first, while they're searching for the light, they were like, "Wow, we don't find a lot of light in you. You have these spots behind your knee, and and it's not really going well." And she like pleaded with them, like, "No, I have light. Don't doubt my light. I shine bright. Don't doubt it."
right. So they did, they kind of said that you have some bits that aren't
Behind her
that
knee.
isn't all light. It isn't all light. There are spots that are missing or things like that. But to go back what they said about the things about creation, Betty had actually had a hysterectomy after the birth of her her
Seventh
daughter
kid?
Cindy,
Her
her
seventh
youngest
kid?
son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that might have had something to do with it, saying that she had.
Well, that could
had
be
something.
some of that miscommunication, because we know there's been like some message lost in translation before. So them saying that is like, they could just be like trying to relay to her, not really knowing how. Be like, hey, we see that you can't have kids, like you can't create.
Yeah, we got fucking
You've lost the ability, the light to create.
Quasar here is
Like-
about to throw an alien baby in you, and he can't. So this isn't gonna work.
Yeah,
for
he's
us.
like, he's like, you lost the light.
You
We're
lost
not
the light,
interested."
lady. This was a mistake. Get the fuck off our table.
He
So-
cinched up his robe.
Yeah. Wasted everybody's time.
Examination, shit goes 0 to total recall really fast.
Yeah, let's get
because
it going.
They have the one device that's going up her nose. She says that when she's describing the experience, she's saying like it's crunching through something, it punctures through something in the front of her head. Like she's saying that she can feel it. The
Yeah,
aliens
she
are
described it as being painful. She described
Right.
being in pain.
But the
during this
aliens
portion of the
bring you
procedure.
love. No,
right,
they're
and so
drilling through your fucking
but they
skull.
managed to withdraw the needle wire, and out comes what she described,
Her brain.
something. It was holding on to something when it came out.
Yeah, her brain
Brain.
is gone.
Well, it seemed to be, she's described it as some type of like small ball with tiny points on
They
it.
fucking,
They took her pineal gland.
buddy, they stuck a fucking coat hanger up her nose and just fucking spun it around a bit and pulled it out.
While the one that was inserted into her navel, this one, it just kind of passed in and I don't know, it just moved around. She said she could feel it moving around her gut. So I don't know what it was doing down there. Either that was that's part of the whatever the fuck's going on. I don't know.
At this point, yeah, we don't.
Well,
don't know what's going on
I
anymore.
imagine like this is what I'm thinking is that they have, the ability to walk through walls. So like maybe they have some sort of like they put the device down and it's like a non-invasive like look, like it's in you, but it's not really in you. And that's how they're seeing that. They're like, oh, you've lost the light. Like you've lost the light. You can't create. And maybe that's what they mean by that. Maybe it's not like you've lost the light as some other mean. It's like you can't give birth anymore. And like that's how they describe it in their.
So what do you mean? You're
weird
trying to say it's
little
some type of
sexy
like
alien culture.
X-ray?
Yeah.
But
And they're just giving
they
her the
punctured
X-ray
her
result.
stomach though.
And seems like something through her nose too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
So,
the nose thing's
What if they put
weird.
some type of like fucking nanobot in her that fucking
shit.
starts zipping around?
Well, after they
Checking shit
remove
out.
the needle wire from her, from her midsection, after they remove that one comes out. She recalls another type of device being lowered from the ceiling, which she described as some sort of like glass plastic eye. It looked very similar to some sort of eye. Kind of
Eye of
lowered it
sorrow.
down, went close to her stomach, and just stayed there for a few moments, and then retracted back into the roof.
That sounds horrifying.
That stole her soul.
Yeah.
Stole
Jesus.
something.
Right. So after
Yeah,
this
that's
whole
weird.
ordeal, Betty is returned to the dressing room, and they have her change back into her regular clothes.
They just throw her clothes at her.
Fucking walk of shame.
Get
out of here.
changed.
Yeah.
Get
Take
out.
that
You
off.
don't have enough
That
light.
you don't get to keep that.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
No light for you.
So after they've had her dressed back into her old clothes, she recalls re-entering the same kind of tube elevator as before, but it opened up into a different corridor. When they floated down this track, which she described, some kind of was just like it's not very wide. I think she said it was like 9 inches wide or something. Because they said, how big is this track? And she pointed to a clipboard that was in front of her that one of the investigators was holding, and it's it's about that wide.
So she was
and there's
going
two-
down a 9-inch fucking tube.
It's just the track that they're floating on. They're not walking.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Oh.
like they're just moving along. They're people mover or whatever.
Conveyor belt.
They enter into
se.
another half cylinder room that she remarked as resembling a type of Quonset hut. So if you've been on a military base, they're kind of like those half cylinder
Okay.
houses.
Yep.
Those
Like a
buildings.
yurt?
What?
A yurt?
Like a yurt?
I would consider that a yurt.
Like a yurt.
Yeah.
She said Quonset. I had to look it up exactly what it is, but it's
Quonset?
like, it looks like one of those bunker houses or whatever. It's just like, one
Okay,
of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
So
We all know a weird word for it that we recognize.
yeah, I'm sure.
Looks like,
Everybody has a
looks like
word
one of
for
those
it.
fucking shops, like those shitty
Yeah,
shops.
yeah. I know what you're saying.
I'm not picturing.
So this room.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, one of those ones.
Something like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a hanger a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Kind of like a
Yeah.
Sure.
easy to set up hanger.
Within this room, she described seeing these plastic glass or these chairs that seem to be made out of some sort of glass or plastic material. The beings placed Betty into one of these chair devices. She remarked seeing that there's I think there was 4 chairs. She described seeing 4 chairs. One of them was slightly different from the others, having some type of like metal panels like on the armrest. Maybe or buttons or something like that. But she was placed in one of the ones that didn't have that. After they placed her in this chair, she said she remarked it's a feeling that these chairs somehow draw. She could kind of tell that they were drawing moisture from her. She kind of hypothesized that it could perhaps some type of like refrigeration or something, because she remembers feeling a bit cold the first time she sat down in one of these. Now, she sits down in this chair, and then over the chair, like a plastic covering or some type of the same material that the chair is made of is lowered down over her, and it perfectly covers her and her seat.
Oh no.
Now,
So Ziploc.
it covers her except for when she drew it out, and from her experience, she spoke about that it covered everything except pretty much like her nose and mouth, but it was like a clear plastic. And then another set of tubes lowered down, and one went over the covering of her mouth and one went over the covering of her nose. And then the beans kind of told her, like, don't worry.
It's just CPAP. It's all good.
They were
You got some
continually
apnea.
reassuring her to tell her everything's okay, because you kind of would have to at this point.
Yeah, that's
by this point, I
terrifying.
wouldn't trust. If you're trusting this far, you got to be at your end of end of the trust here, because you've had your brain punctured, your navel punctured. Now you're ziplocked.
It's fucking crazy.
Now this part goes zero to the abyss real quick because now they fill up this chair covering that she's encased in. They start filling it up with some type of liquid.
Oh shit!
Right?
They're putting her in one of those pods from the Matrix.
She also remembers, after they fill it up, she remembers them administering something, like she said, like some type of syrup or something was dripped into her mouth or something like that, and it had like a type of euphoric
What kind of
effect.
syrup?
She just said sweet type of syrup. So it tasted sweet, and then once she
made her
tasted
feel
it,
calm.
it gave her a type of like euphoric effect. It was kind of almost like an anesthetic of some type.
That's a maple syrup for sure. Then
Yeah.
It's a cybacillin infused syrup right
Yeah,
there.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
There's some fucking.
She recalled having a feeling of some type of like vibration. She said like in a whirlpool of some type, and then after this, they drained that. Like it was like she was in there for a certain amount of time. She's not quite sure how long, because I guess at this point, like, time has no meaning when you don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
But they, after this feeling of euphoria and the vibrations kind of subsided, she was removed out of the chair. They drained the liquid from the thing. These beings that were with her, the two that were with her, it wasn't Quasga. It was two other different beings that had escorted her. They donned these type of black hood-like coverings over their faces. Right, they're wearing now the silver fluorescent suits. I think similar to the ones that Quasga wore during the examination.
And Betty said she didn't need a face covering because she had long black hair.
Yes,
That's what she said.
so
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
So they leave out of the chairs. They get back on this track that had led them into this thing, and now it leads them out down another corridor, which she said it seemed like a type of like subway corridor. She remarked on it being something to resemble like a subway, like a.
She's
subway
still in
station
the
of some
same
type,
20-foot
subway tunnel.
ship.
Well, that's the question now. When they said that they filled this thing up with some type of liquid, my head jumps to The Expanse, where it's like, you put somebody in a crash couch, like in The Expanse, science fiction novels, during space travel, or like they have like high G maneuvers, they will put them into what are like these, they call them like crash couches. And later in the series, like they have these things where they submerge you in kind of like a gel like substance so that you are able to kind of withstand, and then they inject you with a bunch of drugs because so your body can withstand the G forces and the acceleration of like a ship of some type, right? Whether or not that was them, because they didn't seem to have any problem overcoming like motion and like acceleration, just moving the way that they were moving. Could have been something else, whether it was some type of space travel, maybe her body or mind couldn't handle it. I don't know, but
Is this when she floated through like a mirror pretty much?
Right. So she, as they floated down this corridor, they exited the corridor into what she's described as a type of some other. It wasn't Earth anymore. So they had left the ship at some point, or they have left Earth at some point. She described the first thing is they go through this kind of mirror-like substance that looked like some type of portal.
Portal tech.
And when they go through it, and now she described this place as being like completely red, like the atmosphere was red, not like Mars, but everything, like the light in everything was like just a shade of everything. The color was red. The lighting was red. And she described seeing types of buildings, which, in her mind, she compared them to buildings being built of stucco or cement. And she was shocked by the appearance of these wholly different creatures than the ones that were escorting her. She described seeing these types of creatures that were seemingly headless. They had like large They had like fingers that ended in pads. They were very short, maybe 3 feet tall, and they were climbing over these buildings like she said, like monkeys.
Little frog
And
people.
they didn't have heads so much as they had like 2 eye stalks sprouting out like where the neck would be normally.
I
on,
pictured
like,
the little thing from Real Monsters.
Oh yeah, the green guy.
So, wait,
Yeah,
so
who
it-
holds his own eyes.
Yeah.
she's been
Oh no, that's not. The
she's
green
been
guy.
transported to a different dimension or just a different world. She doesn't really
could be
know.
either one at
Buddy,
this point.
I think she was okay, hear me out here. I think she was transported to either the Dolce base or Area 51, and the people in the black masks were actually humans that were like, we can't let her see us because she'll make some sort of connection that there's humans here, and that's weird. We can't have that at all. We can discredit her if she's saying that it's these weird these aliens wearing these.
Why
cute
the
little suits.
fuck? Why would humans kidnap another person? Like we know. Why do we got to do all these?
They're just watching the experiment. They're just there to observe.
No, because the aliens that she's been with the entire time are the ones that put on the black masks.
Well, she didn't say that. She
she
said
did.
she
Yeah,
just
she
saw
did.
some. Oh, did
Yeah,
she?
she did.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
She's not there. She's
because
in a different planet.
after they go through this area of red, she said that they passed through another portal that was covered with like a membrane of some type, and after they passed into that through that membrane, they entered into another what she described as a beautiful area. Everything was a bit green. She said it's like a green area. So she saw things like vegetation. She saw water that was kind of covered by mist in some sections. The beings that she was with were able to remove their black hoods at this point. They said they took them off and just either like put them in a pocket or something. But they took them off. They were able to remove them at this point.
Maybe masks are mandatory. Maybe they're in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody has to wear a mask.
Yep. Just showing her the future, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was.
So she says she remembers seeing things like, again, some type of life form other than the beings. She said she saw something that resembled like some type of animal that was like a cross between a fish and a bird.
Well, it's interesting because they also I wish I couldn't find anything on it, but it said they had an emblem of some sort of bird on their little outfit.
Yeah.
The eagle.
And eagle, is it an eagle? Right? Who knows? Is it a phoenix? I wish we would have more description on what that was, because then later when it says is this a phoenix? Like that would make more sense to me because that's the emblem on their little uniforms too.
Right. So when they're proceeding through this green area, this beautiful area that she described, like they're still moving at a pretty constant pace on this black track. They're pretty much floating through the sky at a high altitude above. And she said that they floated out over what seemed to be a city. And she described the buildings as being very science fiction like, very different in shapes and sizes. There were domes within the city. She couldn't tell if there was a dome over the entire thing. She said that most of it was like surrounded by a mist at some point, so she couldn't see a horizon of any type.
What was the Dan? What was the thing I read? What was the white pyramid-like structure with an Egyptian head on the top?
Oh yeah.
Right. So they passed.
I found that fascinating.
The largest, most notable structure was this type of pyramid. And from the drawings and stuff, it's not exactly a pyramid. She described it as a pyramid.
Pyramid-like.
It's kind of, yeah, it's almost got like 3 sides almost. It's like a 3-sided pyramid. And like one side was flat, like completely flat. And she described the other sides as being kind of having indentations in the middle of each side, and the edges were kind of smoothed out or flattened. And then on top of it, she described to have seen some type of head that she described as being Egyptian. I mean, that's the closest thing that she could come up with it in her brain, and how she interpreted it was Egyptian.
Akhenaten for sure.
Wearing
The alien king. There you go.
It's Akhenaten for sure.
Right. So she said it was wearing the head. It seemed to be wearing the headdress of like a pharaoh, like the Nemes hat, not like the
pointy one, the
pharaoh
long
crown.
one that comes
Nemes.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, the long one that has the flaps and the stripes
Okay.
on it.
Yeah.
Comes down the
I
shoulders.
find that
like
very
one.
interesting that she saw these white pyramids. I was trying to find out, Dan, and maybe you'll know. I should have prepped you with this, so I don't expect you to know this one. When did they was it widely known that the pyramids were most likely white with white limestone?
Oh, how long have they known that? Oh, I don't know.
I
off
think
the top of my head.
I think for a long time, because the second, not the Great Pyramid, but the second pyramid of Giza still has a lot of it, the covering on it.
Yeah, there's still pieces of it that are still there.
Because I found that very interesting that she was describing white pyramids, and then I'm like, well, that's interesting because is that information that she would have known too in 1967 that like these pyramids were most like the pyramids in Egypt, the Giza pyramids were most likely covered in like white limestone and capped with a gold top.
It's not 1967 though. This is 10 years later when she was hypnotized, which would have been 1977, which been when fucking Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out.
Oh, he's calling it early. He's calling it early.
Full of shit.
So after they traveled through the city, they traveled over the skies of the city. She said that they moved on towards what seemed to be a large collection of crystalline structures that were giving off like rainbows of light, extremely beautiful.
Cool.
And they seemed to pass through it, or she passed into it and through it. And then like almost instantly, she said she was kind of transported into just this area of, in front of her was this huge eagle, a huge bird. She said is very much a bird.
Very eagerly.
Very
It's got to be the same bird on their crest.
on their crest on their arm of their toga, whatever the fuck they're wearing.
And as soon as she entered into the presence of this bird, she described this bird as kind of like it was luminous to the point of like almost not being able to look at it. She described feeling an intense heat radiating from this bird, to the point where she described also like sparks kind of flying off of it. And this image of this bird seemed to just burst into flame, or an explosion of energy and light. And then she remembers, after experiencing this very intense, very uncomfortable heat, when she was in the hypnotic regressive state, she was, she's like, ouch, this hurts. Like, I don't want to be here. It's too hot. It's too hot. They had to calm her down and tell her, you're not experiencing that right now.
Betty,
bring her back down.
Okay. Stop making a big deal about it.
Yeah. Just a phoenix. No big deal. It's just a Moltres.
Yeah.
Right. So she, making the Phoenix connection is apt, because after this whole experience of light and heat, there seemed to be a small fire burning down in front of her, and there's just like a collection of ashes, which she observed to reform into this, like she described it as like a fat cray worm. And then she heard this voice within her head asking if she understood. Do you understand what you have seen? And of course, she's saying that she responded that, no, I don't understand any of this. I don't know what's going on.
It was a fucking bird, and now it's a worm. What am I supposed to take from this? What's going on?
You've seen it. You've understood, and also to the effect that she has been chosen, right? She is the chosen one. You will understand everything. You will help humanity to understand everything. You are the chosen one. And it just kind of, like re-emphasize that fact over and over again, that she is chosen.
You witnessed the birth of Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. The greatest Super Nintendo video game.
I was just going to say that was my favorite Super NES game.
Buddy, so
in
good.
History.
So fun.
So fucking good.
That was it. That's all they wanted to show her. Is like, this is what you're missing by being born in the 60s.
Yeah. Enjoy your pong,
born
fucking
too early.
loser.
Yeah. You could have Earthworm Jim.
I don't think she felt like a deep understanding that she did, she did kind of compare this to some kind of like religious experience that she had this, like she's feeling like she should understand something, and she feels like she should learn something, but she doesn't know what it is. She doesn't understand. And, it just told her that you are the chosen one, and that you will observe through the sacrifice of my son, or something like that. It's kind of, yeah.
This
Sounds
to me,
pretty Bible-y.
like this to me starts playing like some sort of, like when we get into this part of this abduction story, it really starts sounding like some sort of like LSD or DMT trip, like some big kind of trip, because
Extreme
I've done
psychedelic.
enough. I've done enough shrooms before where I've had similar experiences, where like I go to bed after doing them, and then I have the most like wild tripped out dreams, where it's like I'm talking to other beings. It's crazy. So I was like, this part of it, I'm like, this sounds like she was tripping out and just didn't know what was going on.
Just at home, her and her hubby decided to pop a little.
I think
LSD.
maybe
67. This happened.
So yeah,
either that or they
prime.
had fucking lead pipes.
Lead poisoning.
So after she's told this kind of, you will understand, you are the chosen one. She remembers passing back through the crystals and then back out through the red and green areas, back through the original corridor. The beings escorted her back to the Quonset room with the glass chairs, and they put her back into the seats. And she did make a point to remark, and actually found that kind of strange as well, is that there are 4 seats, but none of the beings that she's with, they don't occupy any of the other seats. When she goes into it, it's only her and then 3 other empty seats.
So they've sent 3 other people before, maybe.
Did they ever?
Or what I'm kind of wondering, like, oh, what did the beans do? Were they just like standing around, like they don't need that chairs, or those chairs are designed for someone else
Floating.
besides
They don't
themselves?
just sit; they float.
Yeah.
What
so
did they
could
ever
also
tell her
float.
what she's chosen for?
We get to that.
Listen, I don't see. If you look at this, I don't like. You got to look at it as a whole. There's so much misinterpretation and like, with the food and stuff, that I think when she's saying like, "Oh, I've been chosen," I don't think that they're saying that like it in some sort of biblical sense of like, "You're the chosen one." It's like we've chose you. Like just very simple. Like we chose you. No big deal. We chose you.
Well, they did.
You've been
Fucking
chosen.
Picked her up. You were
Yeah.
the closest person.
But it's
we
not
saw.
like when
Let's fucking
she's
do
like,
it.
the way like she describes it as if it's some like biblical, like you've been chosen, like, oh, you're the one. I'm like, no, it's just you've been chosen. Like we chose someone and it's you. You like, I find it very like, I like to think of it as very calculated, of like someone be like, yeah, we chose you. We've chosen you. You were there. We chose you.
Yeah,
Not-
through her experience, she did, she chose to kind of either to keep herself from going crazy, because you might, I don't know, but she chose to kind of realize a lot of what they were saying, this information that were passing on to her, or these revelations. She chose to kind of realize this stuff within the context of the Bible, because she remembers kind of, when they asked her questions like, do you know? She's like, I know that, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, these things, and she used that to kind of, whether she conceptualize or a lot of this information and these things that they were asking of her, she would answer with the Bible or teachings from the Bible. That's what she kind of relied on to keep her mind in one piece, I suppose. She remarked on the return trip that the beings seemed to be a lot more sensitive to her, because at least one of them was like, when they put her back in the chair this time, they actually like knocked on the glass and kind of inquired like, "Are you okay in there, Betty?" Like, like tapped on the glass, like, "You okay this time or
like,
what?"
Doesn't that sound like such a human? Like from everything we've heard of the telepathy and all this other stuff, this to me, like when I was doing my research and got to this part, I was like, this seems like a very human interaction now of like, you're right in there, Betty. Like it seems out of place.
No, these guys just
compared to
know
everything
they
else.
witnessed all the fucked up shit Quasar did to her, and they're like, we feel terrible.
Yeah.
Shit got really weird.
Yeah, you're right in there.
We need to see if this chick's okay. Things went way too far. This guy's a
You
weirdo.
okay in there, buddy?
And then
You need some
Quasar comes,
ice
he's like, you
cream?
must forget.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like
Forget it all.
this is the alien version of MK Ultra. That's what happened here.
Yeah.
So they bring her back to
Talk
what
about
seems to
Operation
be the ship.
Midnight Climax.
They pass through whatever if it's some sort of interdimensional corridor or whatever, but they seem to bring her back to the original ship, back where her home was, and they tell her that Quasga wants to speak to her before they leave or whatever. And, Quasga, she's trying to ask all these questions like, what is going on? What was going on? And, he's like, you must forget is what she gets from him.
After
Essentially,
all
he tells
that?
her that you must forget. And after he says these words, and he starts telling her like, you're going to have to forget for now. She described his face changing from the quintessential gray. One eye became completely black and the other eye became completely white, like luminescent white. And some type of, she described as like an antennae or some type of feelers
Turned to a fucking
grew out
bee.
along the top
Fucking
of his
neuralizer.
eyes while he was talking to her and telling her that we've given you information. We've put stuff inside your head.
Gave her formulas or something, right?
Right. They gave her formulas and they said that we're not going to give you any more until man, collectively understands these formulas.
Why
Like,
gotta
we're
be
not
so
gonna give you any
fucking
more.
vague?
Is this before or after she got the blue book?
They told her that they come to help humans. They love humans.
We bring you
essentially-
love. Yeah, right.
Ugh. Why are you gonna say it like that?
That's the gist of it, is that they're like, we're doing this. Love is the answer. Love is everything. Humans have to deal with but humans first have to deal with this type of, he doesn't really elaborate on what it is, but he says
Okay,
there's
Listen,
some
that's a
type of
hard sell.
corruption on
That's a
Earth.
hard sell to fucking Betty Andreasson, who just got a fucking needle in the navel and
Right to
then in
the
the
cranium.
nose and fucking spun it around and had her all front showing and everything and paralyzed. Like, love is the answer, really? Like, fuck you.
After all that, you're gonna send me into another dimension. You're gonna fucking probe my belly button, my brain. You're gonna show me a phoenix going into ashes and a worm coming out. It's all super cryptic, and then they go, "You must forget." Like,
Yeah, I wish I could.
I
I'm
can't-
gonna have
yeah.
fucking PTSD after that.
The it's funny because, like, again, to me this sounds like some sort of trip, because I've had trips where it's like you figure out that you've gained some like universal knowledge, and like in your head you're like, oh my god, I've had this eureka moment. And then as quick as you get it and you understand it completely and intimately, and so you're just like, I get everything, you lose the ability to even describe what it was that you just learned, and you forget even how to communicate it. It's a weird thing. I've been that high before. So when she says this stuff, I was like, is she describing like a bad trip? Because I've been there. And that's what this sounds like to me.
I've been there too, and I thought I was God for a bit.
Yeah,
Zell
and
did
then
think
you
he
come
was a
back and it's
golden
like,
god.
I will remember this. I will remember how to tell everyone we are one. Everything's one. It's all even praise the light. We're all one. And then you're like, as you come out, you're like, I don't remember. Maybe I wasn't supposed to tell anyone.
What do you mean? You
I
remember it
can't
now? You're talking about right now.
Yeah, you remember
Yeah,
it.
obviously
I
do
don't- I
remember
don't
it.
the intro.
Yeah, but in the moment,
Um,
it's not. It's in the moment's different than how you remember.
you know all the intricate details. Like, you just have this like universal understanding.
No, you're just fucking stoned.
Our next
Weird,
pod week
dude.
will
You're
be
just
at the
stoned.
New England Institute for Hypnotism.
Yeah.
We'll be putting
dude,
Brandon into
that'd be
hypnotic
fun.
regression.
That'd be fun to
If-
be hypnotized like that.
No,
I think you have to be. I honestly, I'm too much of a cynic. I don't think because I'd be like, this isn't gonna work. And I think as soon as you're kind of like that, I think that's why it probably didn't work very well on her dad. Is because he's like some hardened like.
This is
I'm
stupid.
believing this
Don't believe
shit.
bullshit.
dumb.
Yeah, and so he's just so against it, and I just have a hard time like not making jokes. So like, I don't think I could do it.
You probably fuck with the guy, pretend you're hypnotized for a second, and then like, just kidding.
The interesting thing that I also found with this that I was thinking about was that, they say they give her this like some sort of knowledge, and then I'm like, well, she doesn't share any knowledge with anyone. And then I was starting to think that like later on in subsequent interviews and stuff, she really says that we're all one, we're all connected. And I wonder if it's some sort of like 100 monkeys kind of thing, where it's like they put that in one person, that knowledge, and it eventually spreads to all humanity. Like we're some sort of like hive mind, even though we don't realize it.
So the
Right?
beans also did say that others had secret in her mind. She wasn't the only one. They were saying that they had put information in other people as well. She was not the only one.
I thought she
Like,
was
could
the
you imagine
chosen
if
one.
that's what it is? Like they're coming down just giving like because they're like if we implant this knowledge with a certain amount of people, the entire species will just get it.
Just by osmosis, just being out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they made the point to kind of, or they seemed to try to make the point to Betty that it was like, you know, she kept asking, like, what do we need to understand? He's like, you have to understand, you have to explore, you have to search within yourselves. You know, the technology that you're pursuing isn't the right kind of technology is kind of what he was seemed to be getting at, that we needed to be developing technology more along a spiritual sense of technology.
Okay.
And not a destructive
Something-
of making fucking atomic bombs.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I could definitely interpret it that way.
Because if you think about this time, I mean, this is definitely
it's still
in
Cold
the
War.
heyday of like making nukes, testing nukes. I mean, when was that big show of force where they blew up the one in the water there? What year was that?
The bikini
The
or whatever.
bikini atoll?
Bikini
Yeah,
Island.
Yeah.
underwater. Yeah.
What year was that?
50 something.
I don't know, but
50
yeah, from like
that's
1950 to 80 or 90, they're fucking blowing up nukes every like fucking 4 days. It felt like.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say they weren't making nukes because they definitely were. So I'm like when this lines up nicely with that, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely depths of Cold War. It is definitely we have harnessed the power of the atom and, you know, exploded atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs. We're there. You know, we're on this track, or that's what they seem to kind of be saying or implying, that humans had some sort of corruption that they had to deal with. We have to proceed beyond that and seek to understand these formulas or these equations that they have. And until we understand that, then the information and the secrets that are locked within Betty's head and these other people that they alluded to will remain locked, or they will remain locked away.
I like that theory though, Braden, about if say they do this to a bunch of people, and we've talked about it before. Like, say you have an idea for an invention, but you have an idea and you never really follow through, but you think about it for a while, and then like the next week or the next month or the next year, like, I fucking thought about that. So what?
Yeah, laser bullets.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So what if these people are being instilled with these ideas and they never act on them, but enough people do it, and it becomes like we haven't done a
Like
case.
the Akashic records, like
Yeah.
it's just out there, right?
I was
It's
gonna
just it's there for someone to grab.
Yeah, we haven't done a case file on it yet, but exactly like all like that's this in the human consciousness, and if enough people know about it, maybe it like spawns the idea. Then you get a
The
guy like
spiritual awakening.
Elon Musk starts inventing everything because he's a little greedy. He's taking all the human knowledge for himself.
Or he's just tapped in, right? Like he's tapped into some of this a little better, but maybe that's what it takes, right?
Or maybe
Right.
he's an alien.
Maybe he's an alien just by himself.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe he's fucking Quasar.
The way he talks does seem he's quiz.
He's fucking Quasar. Or Quesada
Yeah.
or whatever.
What is the fuck his name? Quazga.
Quazga?
Quazga.
Qualudo.
So to finish off the experience, to bring it close
Let's wrap
to
it up.
she takes the beans she remembers return Betty to her house, and she remembers them guiding her back to their bed, and they actually, utilizing what she described as some kind of like small balls of light, like it was like light within glass. It wasn't just like an LED lamp or something like the orb. It was like an actual glass of light, and they used these to kind of move her family. Like they actually had the family kind of march. She said all the kids kind of lined up and marched upstairs to their beds and went to sleep, and everybody went to bed, and then woke up the next morning. She remembers waking up the next morning, the kids were up, everything, and nobody really remembered anything happening.
They didn't.
Including her. She didn't really remember either.
She just felt like something was off, but didn't really remember what happened.
Right. Not until a couple days later that she kind of like start suspecting something was kind of
So
something
her
was
whole
off.
family was frozen. They don't remember the experience. Was
Well, the one
gone.
daughter does. Like, apparently the one
little bit.
daughter,
The one that was unfrozen.
she got to touch this blue book that she was given, and now she
Right,
can
so
speak and
the
write
blue book-
a different language.
This is the last bit. So, because everybody
get into
would
the
be
blue
like, because
book.
I remember asking this question. She left the book before they left, and they told her like, "You're going to keep this book."
For a
So she
week.
had this book, and she knew with there's some sort of telepathic suggestion or something that she wasn't supposed to show anybody this book. So she had hid it in her closet, while instructed not to show anyone. and she said that this book had contained, when is asked about it under hypnotic regression, she said it contained initiation of mysteries. It seemed to be 40, composed of 40 thin pages. Like the first 5 pages, she said, were just like first 3 or 5 were just glowing white light from the pages, and then the subsequent pages had just strange symbols that didn't seem to be any language that she recognized. She compared it to Egyptian, so I assume she's talking about hieroglyphics,
Right.
So she couldn't read any of them. I think she said that she felt like she could understand some of the concepts that were within it sometimes, but she wasn't able to fully grasp all of it, or she wasn't supposed to yet. So while she was under hypnotic regression, with some other investigators from like the Center of UFO Research and things like that, when they pressed her more about the book, at this point, Betty became like an interpreter for another alien being. Like an alien being was speaking through her.
Beacon.
And she just, the alien introduced itself as being named Andantio.
That's a great alien name right there.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Great. Yeah.
Andantio.
Sounds like Andrew's D&D character should have been named.
Yeah. So the researchers were trying to ask him, like, what's in the book? What are these formulas that are in the book? And
What's
he
in
just
the
kind of like,
book?
what's in the book? What's in the book? And they tried to, but he was just kind of like circling around everything. They asked her, like, what about the formula? What's the first formula? What does it have to do with what? And he, is quoted as saying something like, to do with liquid that life has been removed from. Like, there's no vibrations. It's perfectly still, or something like that.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
Still
that mean?
water. It's a band.
Everything vibrates.
And they asked him all these questions. Like, if you read the book, most of the information I pulled from the Andreasson affair by Raymond Fowler, who was one of the UFO investigators involved intimately with this case.
Also been abducted. No big deal.
Also been abducted. And he also did the Allagash abductions, which we talked about.
Buddy, after interviewing her, he's like, oh, you know what? I think I've been abducted too.
Yeah.
This is bringing some things out.
Well, maybe that's
Like
how they
book
work.
deals.
Maybe that's how they work. Maybe someone gets abducted, then they meet someone else, and that person's now a target. They get abducted.
No, because he's talking to this chick, and he's like, this could be fucking lucrative. I'm going to write this fucking book. This shit happened to me. Let's get a sequel. Let's get a movie made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after this point, this alien being through her, like, wouldn't ask any more specific questions about the book. It was pretty much just all this stuff about, like, know yourselves. Love is the answer. Be careful of greed. And greed is bad. And just kind of back and forth with the investigators trying to get him to answer more stuff. But then they just kind of gave up because they're like, this guy isn't fucking telling us anything. So screw this. We're done. Like, the book, at some point, she said, would only last 10 days. Like, that was it. Like, so the book disappeared after 10 days. Just
went to the ether.
Self-destructed, whatever. It's gone.
Yeah.
This message will self-destruct in 10,
Spectre Gadget.
9. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know why they gave her the book. If they put all this stuff in her head, I don't understand why they gave her the book that's going to be gone in 10 days. Part of me just doesn't
What was the
get
point
that.
of that? Yeah, I don't get it.
know.
What's with blue books? These are pretty popular in this whole alien thing, eh?
It's a great name.
What's final thoughts on the Andreasson case?
Conclude.
Zell, you believe her?
I feel like I'm on board with. Sometimes when I think about aliens, I think that it is like I like to think of it maybe like a simulation thing. If they could come down here and just pause you and put you in suspended animation without doing anything, I feel like that is like a computer code thing. Like, this is like a simulation theory thing.
Simulation.
Like, they come down,
Get on that.
the aliens don't have to do anything. All of a sudden, you're just paused. They just have to think at you. They can put thoughts right in your mind. It doesn't make physical sense as far as we know how shit works. So maybe this is the creators of the simulation that's coming down, checking out their programs.
Yeah, very much. I like that, actually. I like it a lot. The one thing that I was thinking about that I found interesting was, this description of these little uniforms. is very similar to like Barney and Betty Hill's description,
Mm-hmm.
and numerous others of the time is these aliens wearing these little uniforms, right? It makes me think that maybe it's to do with some sort of futuristic like like time traveler coming back in the past. They're doing tests on humans. It's because it's our evolved selves coming back. That's why they can kind of communicate with us, because they would still understand some of the language and whatnot, over history.
Right.
I just found it interesting that it's, very similar descriptions of these little dudes. I find the first half to be very interesting and believable, because like you have one person who's like, yeah, maybe I saw something, maybe I didn't. I don't really want to answer any more questions. That's it. And then you have, Betty that is spilling the beans, and you have her daughter that is kind of corroborates a little bit. It's an interesting. There's a lot of information on this one, so it's definitely an interesting read for sure. Dan, what do you think?
It's always difficult to kind of, for me to like not believe something. She has a very detailed, a very lengthy narrative all put together with this whole thing, but it's also 10 years after the fact. I know regressive hypnosis has kind of been put off as bunk. It's not really a thing anymore. People have kind of discredited it or whatever. It's not, doesn't seem to be very accurate or thing. I know they set them up with lie detectors and stuff like that, but even then, that's like, if you've already convinced, lie detectors aren't even that accurate.
It's not a lie.
You can't.
You believe it.
You believe it.
Right.
Human mind is a powerful thing.
There's just a lot of stuff in here. Like, she doesn't answer really a lot of specifics about the stuff, especially these aliens like love is the answer. All that stuff.
We
is
bring
like,
you love.
like, anybody could say that. It's just,
Scary.
yeah, duh. And I don't know. But I don't know why she would create this narrative, because, they administered to her psychological tests, or they said that they did, and
They
she's
found her
not
sane.
crazy. Yeah, she's not crazy.
Not crazy.
They found her and her daughter both sane and
Yeah, and she never really,
as credible can be.
when they asked her, would you want to write a book about these things? Like, why don't you write a book? She never really thought about it. She's kind of like, if you think it would help people or, something like that, I could write a book, but
If it's
she
gonna
never
fill my
seemed to
bank
really
account.
profit off of it. Like,
What?
I don't-
Yeah,
Yeah,
she it's not like she's Travis Walton giving limp handshakes at every alien con you go to.
The
right?
limpest
Yeah,
handshake.
she does
you could
interviews
imagine.
and stuff, but it's just like,
Yeah,
Have you listened to her
I don't
interviews
know.
though? Like, every interview I listen to, she gets prompted the entire time by her fucking husband.
yes, her new husband. I think her new husband. I will say I listened to some interviews with her new husband, and I think early on, Dan, like you said, she wasn't profiting from it. When she married her new husband, Bob Luca.
Yeah.
They do interviews with her, and like I've listened to the Coast to Coast with her, and like she sounds very modest, like she's just talking about her experiences, and then her husband will be like, yeah, I had experience too, let me tell you about mine, and he butts in, tells it, and then like Andrew said, he will prompt her the rest of the way, so it's almost like he's seen the money signs, and he's like, we got to do that, come on, and he's just like, remember when you saw this, remember when you heard this, huh? And like this narrative kind of
And
changes
his
from what
story
it
sounds
originally
exactly
was.
like hers.
Yeah, and then his story sounds similar. So it's very interesting to me, like that dynamic. I find her less credible, like later on when she's with her in interviews I listened to, with her now husband. I didn't like. I got a sour taste in my mouth. But like from the readings and like that stuff, Dan, I 100% agree. Like she didn't really benefit from this in any way.
I don't think anyone who has an abduction story at the time, like, they don't benefit
Travis
from.
Walton.
No, at the start though, they don't benefit.
No.
Like when you first make that claim, especially back then, like all you're benefiting from is being called a fucking lunatic, crazy person.
Yeah.
And then maybe years later, because of that, because you were called a crazy person and maybe you lost your job or you couldn't gain employment because people knew your story, you're like, well, maybe I only have this one option left. Maybe I can only like sell this story, like write a book, or I can do radio shows because it's all I got left.
Andrew, what do you think?
Wait, can I guess?
Fake news or
Is it all bullshit for you, or
what? This came out right around.
Same time as Close Encounters of the Third Kind, man. I don't. You know what though? I don't know. Like I'm doing my best to broaden my horizon and give this kind of stuff a chance, but like I don't know. The problem with all these stories is there's never anything tangible. And
But how about,
there's
how about
no
this?
proof,
How about
like,
this?
there's-
She wrote in a year before. She wrote in a year before with her story,
what?
right?
What do you mean? Sorry, say that again.
When there was like first she responded to the ad saying like we're looking for people who may have had a UFO encounter,
Oh, and so she wrote in, saying,
and she
I
wrote
had
in.
one.
That
I
was
mean,
a
it's-
year before. So
it's
she
tough
would
for
have
me,
wrote
though.
in like sometime in 76.
I meet fucking like on a daily basis. I'll meet people at work being like, "Hey man, like how's it going? Everything looks normal. You're in a normal house. Everything's good." And they're like, "Hey, we called 911 because there's microchips in my head and the government's controlling me."
maybe there fucking is.
But exactly. But it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. Like,
Yeah.
give me something. Like, I need to see something. I need to.
Andrew doesn't know it's real anymore.
No, I don't know. I'm trying. I'm really
The
fucking
world's
trying.
an illusion.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a simulation.
All right.
I don't know.
Let's wrap this one up, man. This has been a long.
We went-
good case file. I like it.
Great case. Really, at least, you know what? There's a lot of details to her encounter. It just, the credibility is up
super
for
interesting.
debate, but it's,
Hashtag look it up.
yeah.
Here's the bad news that we went this long, and the bad news that I've been gone so long. The Randomtron, it rusts up. I'm in this humid weather. I was gone for a week. I left it outside.
You're lying.
Got some rust.
You're lying.
It needs some.
It chose a fucking category that you did not like, and you got all diva-like and smashed it. Don't fucking lie.
This Randomatron's been here for a couple of years. It's been acting up lately. She might be
Yeah.
cooked. We might have to fucking build a new one.
Listen, second thing, I'm not doing space news this week. We're not doing it now.
Space news. We're not doing space news. We went too long.
You guys don't get it now.
You don't get no fucking space
Fucking
news
do
because
it.
we told you about a cool UFO case that went way longer than anticipated. But we will tell you some new Patreons.
No, you're not getting any space news because somebody called Zell a pine cone, and he's upset.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty.
it's done.
That's
He did. Call him a pine cone.
You call me a fucking pine cone, I'm not gonna kill you.
Yeah, it didn't go over well.
Pine cone, potatoes, anything in like a round shape,
It's not good.
I just instantly hate it. I don't know
yeah.
why.
If you call them a pear, oh baby.
Oh man.
No pear. I don't mind pears. Actually, delicious.
What about pear head? All right, pear head.
Nah, pear head's fine. Doesn't bother
All
me.
right.
Anyways, new Patreon supporters this week: William Van Tassel.
Woo! Oh, we forgot the NBA theme song
Yeah, we
kicking in.
don't. Now we can't play that because we'll get fucking sued. But
Yeah.
Leaf Weimer, Cole
Fake
Barden,
That's real.
Matthew, just John, Jennifer Swope,
It's a real name.
Emily Johnson,
Fake name.
Fake
Jonah Hayes, Joss
name. Real name.
Josted, fake.
That's
Made
fake
that
name.
one up.
Yeah, it's dumb. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's you losing creativity.
NZ _Skunky
Fake.
Buds. That's real.
Real name.
That's real. When did we record last? 20. Oh, we got one more, I think. No, actually, that's it. That's done. New Patreons
All right,
this
guys.
week.
Get on our Patreon. We got tons of stuff on there. Your boys got to go to the bathroom so bad.
Long
But
case
as
file.
we always say at the end of those episodes, some episodes, keep those eyes on the skies.
Booyah.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.